why we are here? Well, half of the answer comes from you, you know that. No, I cannot, but I can tell you why I am here. Last year in Boston, we for the first time created a forum, a global forum, in which we invited change makers across cultures and societies to come together and share experiences. Not just any experiences, but in particular experiences where we attend to the deeper levels of awareness, or kind of where we attend to the inner place that we are operating from, through our change processes. And what happened was kind of really growing together very quickly a sense of a community, or maybe more of a movement, or more of a field of connections that that helped people to reconnect with their own sources of energy or inspiration, but that also created new connections for people to come up with new ideas and make new things happen. And one of them, or two or three of the participants, came up with the idea, hey, next year when the forum moves to Berlin, why don't we create like a Mission U type of project that is not only targeting young people who work in social entrepreneurship schools across Europe, but really kind of gives them like a playing ground to create their own environment that they want to engage in. And I immediately loved that concept, kind of to not offer something for them, but co-create a place that is mainly shaped, or almost 100% shaped, by people from that generation, Generation Y. And that's why I'm here, to find out how it's working, to what can be learned, and how we can work together in a more intentional way going forward. One of the learning for me personally is that letting go of that, very often I am like the organizing guy, right? The guy who keeps things together. Very often I work in like risk-adverse environments, like the UN or big companies. So there's a high need to control, to make sure that things work out and so on. So for me, this is the beautiful thing about this one, is that I could totally let go. I was just trusting. I mean, I had never worked together with almost everyone here. But it's just kind of let go and just trust that somehow among this group of people, the right kind of ideas, inspirations, and also ways of organizing will emerge and will make their way. And so what I found this week is that this really worked, and that the way how a lot of this is being done in a self-organized way, shared with more distributed responsibility, and the whole presence of the art. Also the wonderful connections to all the place-based Berlin projects here. I also learned that so there's like an interesting space across schools, across these business, social entrepreneurship schools, that maybe can only investigate it together, so no single school could do that. But I also learned that this is a good place, right? Berlin is just a fantastic place, and not only with good weather, which is probably sometimes short in supply, but the whole kind of emerging culture of, you have like civil society, you have an artist, and you have a strong sense of community. Or for example, when you look at Tempelhof, you have like a local government that somehow has the intelligence to, at least to some degree, use participative processes, which then allows parts of civil society to really co-shape some of the use, and puts the people more into the driver's seat than I have seen in many other places. And of course you have the whole kind of history and the after shadows from the Cold War and from the Hitler era of Nationalsozialismus. And all of that is, if you come in with an international group here, and I have had now like 4 different events here in Europe over the past 12 days, I must say it's incredibly powerful because it is like a little microcosm. It's a container where the shadows of the past are extremely strong and the presence of the future is even stronger. And so they meet, and it's just an incredible creative container where, as a group, you can go through processes of, also including healing processes, that I think are faster, more powerful, more effective than I have seen in many other places. So that was a beautiful thing to watch, and also a very moving thing to watch over the past 2 weeks for me. Whereas Berlin and the U? Well, here's what I think. The U really is not like a linear process. It is a field process, theory also of 2 polar fields, kind of the field of presencing and the field of absencing. So if you want to talk about Berlin, you really have to, you could say it is the city of, emerging society 4.0, right, which is kind of presencing. And at the same time, it is the city of where kind of one of the most devastating minus 4.0, which is kind of the absencing, the space of absencing, has taken place in history. So both of that comes together here, and it allows us, and what I see is, what I have seen over the past weeks and months and years is that the presence of the new, kind of the beginnings of the new society, are more powerful here than in almost any, any other place of that kind I could think of. And yes, there is still some kind of collective shadow somehow here that needs to be further transformed, and probably that is a task that requires, right, collaboration across many boundaries, not only national but also sector and so on. And I have seen that, so we need to come together around that. The way I experience social reality today in the world in the beginning 21st century is, it's not like one place is operating on absencing and the other one on presencing. The reality is that it's much more fragile. One moment, right, I'm in a space of presencing, and then before I know, kind of I move into habits, same old, which really is kind of moves me, although I don't fully realize that through my lack of awareness, into a space of collective absencing. So we are really kind of, the situation is much more fragile than we usually think. And for me, kind of Berlin has been a place where, this process of becoming aware of the whole situation we are in, just rather than just my own small part of it, is particularly fun to do and joyful to engage in, kind of in groups that I have been convening here. Well, it's not black-white, it's really more like a dance. So always, of course, what is the U process? U process is you organize around something that's emerging, rather than organizing around a fixed process or a fixed structure. So that means you always deal with the unexpected, or you just pretend it's the U process, but in reality it's a mechanical thing that you do. A real U process is always emerging, kind of something that wasn't there is emerging, and then you form, you organize your structure around that. So in other words, there's always to some degree, so what you need to do is always a letting go and letting come. but it does take place in different environments. And so when I say a dance, then you work with client system, you work with other stakeholders, and you try to nudge them, move them into more letting go than usual. And so what I was referring to, so that is the same, but it takes place in a different context, kind of where there are more limitations, and kind of this is kind of a more free-flowing context where the degrees of freedom already at the beginning are much higher. So you can engage in other forms. I mean, you see other things emerge, and not everything is working, right? It doesn't mean that everything is better, not at all. But different things happen, and that's what's interesting, and that's kind of what we can learn from. And the way I see it evolving in the future is not to put everything back together in one huge forum, kind of bringing together all the different generations and so on, but it's more like a parallel process, kind of that there is kind of the track of Mission U, so that in the future we probably will want to have at Mission U and the Global Forum more as back-to-back events at the same location, and then kind of have one kind of more addressing the professional communities, and the other one really more organized by and for young people, kind of, and that would be a global microcosm, and people from that region. And then, so these two, like kind of the two, the hard chambers, kind of work together in influencing and shaping each other. So it's a parallel track, and it's interwoven, but it's not centrally coordinated. It's not like one center and then. So it's more like playful. Two different violins and improvising the way into the future.